My name was Jake Palmer, and when I died at 28, everyone thought it was a car accident. But the truth is, I chose to die that day, after delivering the justice that needed to be done. This is the story of how a soldier, killed in combat, came back home to seek justice, and how even after my real death, I still had one last surprise for those who betrayed me. I grew up on the east side of Detroit, son of Robert and Margaret Palmer. Dad worked at a Ford factory, Mom was a housekeeper. We were a humbled but close-knit family, and ever since I was a kid, I dreamed of giving them a better life. At 18, I enlisted in the Army with a clear goal: to save enough money to get my parents out of renting and buy them their own home. During 3 years of service, I saved every penny, lived simply, all for them. "Jake, are you sure you don't want to spend a little on yourself?" Dad would ask when I sent almost all my paycheck home. "Dad, our family deserves better. You gave me everything. Now it's my turn," I'd reply. In 2019, I finally made it. I bought a beautiful colonial-style house in Dearborn Heights for $180,000, every cent I had saved. Seeing Mom's face the first time she walked through the door was the happiest moment of my life. "Jake, my son, this is a dream," she cried, hugging every room. It was around that time I met Katrina Mitchell at Walter Reed Hospital, where I was doing routine checkups. She was a nurse, blonde, blue-eyed, 24 years old, with a smile that could light up any room. She came from a middle-class family in Ann Arbor. Katrina seemed genuinely interested in me and my family. During our 3-month relationship, she would visit my parents regularly, help Mom in the kitchen, chat with Dad about sports. She seemed like the perfect woman. "You have a beautiful family, Jake," she once told me. "I want to be part of it." In December 2019, I proposed to Katrina. She said yes through tears of joy, and we set the wedding for February 2020. A week before the wedding, she made a request that changed everything. "Jake, I want you to put the house in my name." "Why?" I asked, surprised. "To make sure I'm protected if something happens to you," she said, holding my hands. "You always said family comes first. Now I'm going to be your family." I trusted her completely. At the notary's office, I transferred the house deed to Katrina Palmer. The decision that would destroy my life. The wedding was beautiful, held at the Methodist church where my parents had gotten married. Among the guests was Marcus Rivera, my high school rival. Marcus had always envied everything I achieved, my grades, my football trophies, and now Katrina. "Congrats, man," he said at the wedding, shaking my hand a little too firmly. "You always get the best." The first 3 months of marriage were perfect. Katrina adjusted well to the house, and on weekends my parents would come over for lunch. It felt like the dream family. But in May 2020, I received orders for a mission in Afghanistan. High-risk operation, indefinite duration. "Jake, don't go," Katrina cried when I told her. "We just got married." "Katrina, it's my duty. After this mission, I'll leave the Army. We'll have kids, a normal life." At our farewell, she hugged me tight and promised, "I'll wait for you, Jake. I'll take care of your parents like they're my own." I left for Afghanistan on June 15th, 2020, not knowing that Katrina already had other plans before I even left. The mission really was dangerous. We were sent to the mountains near Pakistan to intercept insurgents. What was supposed to last 2 weeks turned into 2 months of intense combat. At the end of August, during a night op, our patrol was ambushed. In the firefight, I got separated from the group and was captured by a group of Taliban. They took me to an improvised prison in a cave in the mountains. For 8 months, I lived in hell. Daily torture, interrogations, inhuman conditions. My captors used me as bargaining leverage in negotiations that never went through. After 3 months with no contact, the U.S. military declared me dead.
In April 2021, I managed to escape during an airstrike in the region that caused confusion among the captors. I walked for 5 days through the mountains until I was rescued by an American patrol. Soldier Palmer? My God, you're alive, said the sergeant who found me. Everyone thought you were dead. Almost was, I said, barely able to speak. They took me to the base, where I spent 2 weeks under medical care. When I was finally able to call home, it was Dad who answered. Dad, it's me, Jake. Total silence on the other end. Then, Jake? My son? You're alive? I am, Dad. Where are you? How's Mom? Dad started crying. Jake, we are not at the house anymore. What do you mean? Katrina kicked us out, son. 2 weeks after your funeral, she said she had no obligation to support old people and that she needed to move on with life. My blood ran cold. Funeral? What funeral? The Army said you had died. We held a military funeral. Katrina cried a lot, played the grieving widow well, but soon after... Dad, where are you living now? At a boarding house downtown, son. Mom's diabetes is out of control, and I had 2 heart scares. We can't afford the medication. And Katrina? Dad sighed. She's living in the house with Marcus Rivera. They moved in together a week after the funeral. At that moment, everything became clear. Katrina didn't just betray me. She used my death to free herself from any responsibility and live openly with my childhood rival. Dad, don't tell anyone I called. No one can know I'm alive yet. Why, son? Because I'm going to make things right. My way.
2 days later, I landed in Detroit in secret. The Army believed my story, that I wanted to spend a few days with my family before officially announcing my return. But in truth, I had other plans. First, I went to see my parents at the shabby boarding house where they were staying. Mom nearly fainted when she saw me. "Jake, my baby!" she cried, hugging me like I might vanish again. "I'm here, Mom, and I'm going to fix everything." They told me every detail. Katrina had arranged my funeral like the perfect widow, shedding fake tears in front of the whole community. But the week after, she showed her true colors. She said this wasn't a charity, Dad said angrily, that you two weren't married long enough for her to owe us anything. And Marcus? Oh, he showed up the very next day with a pickup full of boxes. Now they're living like king and queen in the house you bought. I spent 3 days watching the house from a distance. I saw Katrina and Marcus living like a happy couple, sleeping in my bed, eating at the table I bought, watching TV in the living room where Katrina and I used to dream about our future. Marcus was riding my Harley Davidson like it was his. Katrina had sold all of my belongings, military trophies, gear, even my grandfather's class ring. That's when I decided they were going to pay. But not just anyway. They were going to feel the terror my parents felt when they were abandoned. I started slow. On the first night, I cut the power to the house at 3 a.m. When Marcus went out to check, I restored it and snuck in through the back door, leaving a photo from our wedding on the bed. The next day, I overheard Katrina talking to a neighbor. The strangest thing happened. A photo of me and Jake showed up on the bed. Marcus said I probably left it there without realizing. On the second night, I called the house at 2 a.m. When Katrina answered, I didn't say a word. I just played our wedding song, Perfect by Ed Sheeran, and hung up. Marcus, someone called and played a song. It was our wedding song. Katrina, you're imagining things. It was just a prank call. But I was just getting started. During the third week, I stepped things up. I entered the house when they were out and moved things around, just enough to make them doubt themselves. I rearranged objects, left drawers open, changed the TV settings to the military news channel. Katrina started getting paranoid.
Marcus, I'm sure someone is coming into our house. Our house? It was Jake's, Katrina. Maybe you're feeling guilty. Don't say that. Jake is dead. Then why are you so jumpy? I saw when Katrina called the locksmith to change all the locks. It didn't matter. I knew every inch of that house, including the basement window that never quite closed. By the 4th week, I began the real psychological warfare. I discovered that Katrina had a habit of showering every night at 10 p.m. On a Tuesday, while she was in the shower, I snuck into the bedroom and wrote, "I know what you did," on the foggy bathroom mirror. When she came out and saw the message, her scream must have woken the entire neighborhood. "Marcus! Marcus, come here now!" "What is it now, Katrina?" "Look at this! Look what's written on the mirror!" By the time Marcus arrived, the steam had faded and the message had vanished. "Katrina, there's nothing written here." "There was. I swear there was. Someone wrote, 'I know what you did.'" "Katrina, you're losing it. Maybe you need help."
From then on, I started using personal items to torment her. I had replicas made of my wedding ring. I'd leave one in places she'd find it, in the coffee maker, in her purse, on the pillow. Every time she showed Marcus, he called it paranoia. "Marcus, where did this ring come from? It's Jake's wedding ring." "Katrina, you kept some of his stuff. Now you're imagining it's showing up by itself." "I didn't keep anything. I sold it all." "Well, guess you didn't sell everything, huh? What else are you hiding from me?" They started arguing constantly. Katrina developed insomnia, was on anxiety meds, and seeing a psychiatrist twice a week. By the 6th week, I started using tech. I still had access to the house Wi-Fi. The password was still our wedding date. Katrina had never changed it. I hacked into the sound system and programmed it to play our wedding song every night at 3 a.m. "Marcus, do you hear that?" "Katrina, stop yelling. What is that sound?" "It's the music. My wedding song with Jake. It's playing by itself." Marcus went down and unplugged the system. There. Must have been a glitch. The next night, it happened again, and again, and again. Katrina couldn't sleep anymore. She was on 3 different meds and considering psychiatric hospitalization. "Maybe you should go visit your mom for a bit. Take a break from here." "You want me to leave?" "I want you to get better, Katrina. You're not well." But I wasn't going to let her get away that easily. In the 7th week, I decided to show them I knew about the betrayal. I printed several photos of them together that I had taken in secret and spread them around the house, on the fridge, on the bedroom mirror, on Marcus's dashboard. Marcus, come look at this." Katrina was hysterical, holding a photo of them kissing in the backyard. How did someone take this picture?" Marcus went pale. It was the first time he had no explanation. "Katrina, this is impossible. No one else has these pictures." "Then how did they get here?" For the first time, I saw real fear in Marcus's eyes. He started scanning the corners of the house like someone could be hiding there. Do you think Jake is alive?" Katrina whispered. "Don't be ridiculous. We saw the funeral." "But what if he faked his death? What if he found out about us?" Marcus tried to look brave, but I could tell he was terrified too. By the 8th week, they installed security cameras. Didn't matter. I knew every blind spot, every angle they didn't cover. On a Thursday, I left my final message. While they slept, I wrote on the living room wall, "Happy anniversary, sweetheart. See you tomorrow." It was February 13th, 2022. Our 2-year wedding anniversary was the next day. Katrina and Marcus woke up and saw the message. Katrina completely lost it. He's alive! Jake is alive and he's coming back tomorrow! Katrina, stop! This is just some psycho messing with us. No, Marcus, it's him. I know it's him. He found out everything and he's back for revenge. If it were him, he'd have shown up already. Stop being paranoid. But Katrina was right. I was coming back. And the next day, they'd get the shock of their lives. I spent the afternoon of February 14th getting ready. I took a long shower, put on my sharpest dress uniform, grabbed all the evidence I'd collected during 2 months of surveillance, and drove to my old house. I'd arrived at 7:30 p.m. Through the window, I saw Katrina and Marcus having dinner at the table, trying to act normal, but clearly nervous. Katrina kept glancing at the doors and windows. At 8 p.m., exactly the time I used to get home from work when we were married, I rang the doorbell. Katrina dropped her fork. Marcus slowly stood up. "Who could that be?" Katrina whispered. "Go see who it is," Marcus said, his voice shaking. Katrina walked up to the door. "Who is it?" "It's me, sweetheart. Jake, your husband." The scream she let out echoed through the entire street.
Katrina opened the door with trembling hands, and when she saw me standing there, in uniform, very much alive and very real, she collapsed to the floor. "Jake! Jake, you're alive!" "Hello, Katrina. I missed you." Marcus came rushing up behind her. When he saw me, he turned as pale as a ghost. "Jake, man, we thought you were dead." "I'm guessing you were hoping I was dead," I replied, stepping inside the house without being invited. "After all, you two got pretty comfortable. In my house, my bed, riding my motorcycle." Katrina was still on the floor, in shock. You were the one doing those things? The photos? The music? The messages? Oh, did you enjoy my little psychological terror campaign? You spent 2 months terrified, wondering if you were going crazy or if the house was haunted. How about finding out it was much worse? It was me, very alive, very angry. Marcus tried to step closer. "Jake, man, let me explain." "Explain what, Marcus? How you've always wanted everything I had since high school? How you finally got it when you thought I was dead? Or how my lovely wife here abandoned my sick parents in a rundown boarding house to go on a honeymoon with you?" Katrina finally managed to stand, leaning against the wall. "Jake, I can explain. Can you explain how you sold my military trophies? How you sold my grandfather's class ring? How you told my parents this wasn't a charity house?" I opened the folder I had brought and began spreading photos across the table. "Can you explain these photos of you two living like royalty in the house I bought with my blood and sweat? Oh, and this one's rich. Both of you laughing and having fun while my parents were wasting away in a boarding house?" Marcus and Katrina stared at the photos in total shock. How did you get these pictures?" Marcus stammered. "Simple. For 2 months, since I got back from hell, I've been living in the shadows, watching you. I documented every moment of happiness you built on my parents' suffering." Katrina started to cry. "Jake, I can explain everything. I was heartbroken. I thought you were dead." "Being heartbroken doesn't justify abandoning 2 sick elderly people, Katrina. Being heartbroken doesn't justify selling a dead man's belongings. And it certainly doesn't justify sleeping with another man 2 weeks after my funeral." I pulled out my phone and called my lawyer. "Murphy, it's Jake. Ready to execute the plan?" "Yes, I'm here with them now." "What plan?" Marcus asked, sweating bullets. "The plan where I sue you both for everything you did. Bigamy? Technically, we're still married, Katrina. Misappropriation of property. You had no legal right to evict me or sell my things. Elder neglect. My parents received military benefits through me and you were withholding them." Katrina sank into a chair. No, this can't be happening. Oh, it's happening. You know what else is happening? The house goes back to me. You have 24 hours to leave. My parents move back in tomorrow. Marcus snapped. You can't do this. We didn't know you were alive. But you did know. You were betraying a fallen soldier and abandoning his parents. That makes it even worse. 15 minutes later, my lawyer Murphy arrived, with 2 police officers and my parents. Mom was crying when she saw me, and Dad hugged me with all the strength he had left. My boy is back, Mom whispered. Katrina and Marcus were arrested that same night. The evidence was overwhelming. In the months that followed, the case moved quickly. Katrina was sentenced to 2 years in prison and ordered to pay $75,000 in damages to my parents. Marcus got a year for complicity. The house was returned to my parents, who moved back in a week later. I used my military savings to renovate everything and take care of their health. But the story doesn't end there. 6 months after delivering justice, I was driving down Interstate 75, returning from a medical appointment in Ann Arbor. It was a rainy night, and I was thinking about how life had come together. My parents were well, Katrina and Marcus had paid for their crimes, and I'd finally had peace. That's when I saw the truck, swerving out of control, coming straight at me. I had 3 seconds to decide. I could swerve right and hit a car with a family and kids, or keep going straight and take the impact alone. I chose to take the hit. I died instantly. But I died at peace, knowing that I had done the right thing. What Katrina and Marcus didn't know was that before I died, I left one final surprise. In my will, I arranged for a sealed letter to be delivered to each of them in prison if anything ever happened to me. The letter read, Katrina and Marcus, if you're reading this, it means I truly died this time. But I want you to know, I forgive you. Not for the crimes you committed, but because hate corrodes the soul, and I choose to die in peace. Use your time in prison to become better people. Life is too short to waste on betrayal and revenge. Jake. That was my final lesson to them. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting or excusing injustice. It means choosing peace over hate. Katrina served her full sentence. After prison, she moved to another state and was never seen in Detroit again. I heard she became a volunteer at a senior care home, maybe trying to make amends for what she did to my parents. Marcus served his year. After release, he tried to rebuild his life in Detroit, but the community never forgave him. He moved to Texas, where he works at a mechanic shop. He never rode a Harley-Davidson again. My parents lived well in the years that followed. Dad passed peacefully in 2025, at age 72, in the house I bought for them. Mom still lives there, surrounded by caring neighbors who respect and help her. The money Katrina and Marcus were forced to pay was used to cover my parents' medical care. There was enough left for Mom to live comfortably for the rest of her life. Tommy Martinez, my best friend, became the executor of my will and an informal caregiver for my parents. He visits Mom every week and makes sure she has everything she needs. The house in Dearborn Heights became a symbol in the community. Neighbors often tell the story of the soldier who came back from the dead to get justice, as a lesson about family loyalty and the price of betrayal. My motorcycle was sold, and the money donated to an organization that helps veterans with mental health challenges. It was important to me that something good came from all of this. The most surprising part was the discovery, through my will, that I had created a secret fund during my years of service. That fund was set to pay for college for any young person in Detroit who wanted to join the armed forces, provided they proved character and commitment to family. So far, 12 students have received full scholarships. Each of them receives a letter I wrote before my death explaining the importance of never abandoning those we love. Katrina tried to contest my will after her release, claiming she was entitled to compensation as a widow. The case was thrown out immediately when the judge reviewed the evidence of her crimes. The lesson I leave behind is simple.
Betrayal has consequences, but blind revenge brings no peace. I sought justice not out of hate, but out of love for my parents and respect for the memory of our marriage. Katrina and Marcus paid for their actions, but in the end, I chose forgiveness, because that's what people of character do. My parents taught me that family comes first. I honored that lesson until the very end, even when it cost me my life. This is my story. The story of a soldier who discovered that the real battlefield wasn't in Afghanistan, but at home, fighting against greed and betrayal by the ones he loved most. A battle I won not with weapons, but with intelligence, patience, and in the end, forgiveness. May my story be a reminder. Take care of those you love, because life is fragile, and a person's true character only shows when times get hard.